Hello everyone. I have covered before bilateral integration activities in general. And today I thought, why don't I try to make it a bit more specific for people who might have stroke or any reason for which they have one side weakness. So how to practice bilateral integration. The first criteria is there should be some initial movement of the weak hand also. So assuming this is my weak hand today, let's see what kind of movements will help you. The very basic movement you might think would be, let's try to hold the hands together, but no. The first movement that you really need to practice are something known as scapular movements. So bringing your shoulders up and down symmetrically, so that is shoulder elevation and depression. Moving the shoulders forward and backwards. It's called protraction and retraction. Then we can move on to moving our hand. But even in that, there will be a tendency for the weak hand to lag behind because there would be weakness in the elbow, the wrist won't be stable, and this might be the initial movement. So in order to do that, the best way is not to start with the hand, but to start with the elbow. So better to support the elbow while making the movement. This way. And once you feel that the control of the elbow is getting better, then you can move on to the forearm and finally to the hand. The initial clasping of hands might seem a bit out of the place because when you try to clasp the hand, the fingers are so tight that you try to move your fingers through the fingers of the weak hand. So instead of doing that, it's better to hold the hand this way. So that first of all, you're avoiding any kind of ulnar deviation or any kind of deformed position of the hand. So you have automatically corrected it by moving it back. And then you can try to make the movement. So the first part is not simply raising it. The first part has to be try to stretch both the arms as much as possible. Though it's not part of any kind of daily activity, but just to learn stabilization, I always like using a ball. So for a first set, you have to try to hold the ball with both hands and close to the body. If this is difficult, you can keep it lower near your tummy and then try to move it higher as much as possible. Now the tendency is the arm is going to retract back, and that is why it is a great movement to practice. Moving the ball up and down. The second step would be not trying to move it sideways, but trying to move it forward. Because again, if you try to do this, either your hand will retract because of tightness. That's why it'll be good to practice within a small range and then try to take it finally to the maximum range. Even over there, this could be the grasp that the person has. It's still okay to practice it and then try to relax your fingers as much as possible so that the holding of the ball is good. The third step would be, once you have reached over here, is trying to move it towards the weak side, because that is an easier movement than crossing the midline, because again, tightness is going to bring your hand back and the ball is only caught in one hand. And then the final movement that you can do in the front would be trying to take it overhead and then back down. This is not all with the ball, because what you have to try to do finally is try to take the ball with your right hand and then try to move it behind and see if your left hand can try to hold it and bring it forward. I know this movement is very difficult, and that's why I'm saying this is the last movement to practice in this range. Also, there is something known as PNF patterns that one can follow, and those PNF patterns really help you to bring both symmetrical and asymmetrical movements with the hand. So how you can practice the PNF patterns is trying to take it up towards the left side, down towards the right side, then up towards the right side, down towards the left side. Now you would think, how are these really going to help you? You need to comb your hair on this side. You need to comb your hair on that side. You need to open a car door, or you need to straighten up your trousers or correct your shirt. So for all those movements, or maybe you have to take out something from your pocket, so you're not always going to use your good hand to do that. So these kind of movements really help. Initially, you can start it with the ball, but then you can try to practice it with smaller objects or smaller balls as well. There are a few movements that I always emphasize while doing bilateral tasks is some kind of task that require pushing. Okay, this is not going to help. Why don't we try to push this? You would be thinking, why do I have this here? Pushing, pulling, even carrying objects in your hand based on grading of the weight. So that's where the ball can really help you. Try to carry it in your hand, focusing only on your balance and your walk. Always try to look straight so that your vision is not compensating the holding of the ball. People who have stroke or any kind of one-sided weakness, it could even be because of Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, or even for traumatic brain injury, you can always practice them at home. Please check out my video on bilateral activities where I explained both for children and adults in the card over here. So let me know in the comments below what other kind of videos would you like me to make in regard to pediatric or adult rehabilitation, and we'll cover them. We'll meet again.